This morning when I came to meet you guys, I couldn't see a thing. There was a fog that covered everything. And that's the lake on the left side. And by the way, if you look to the left and ahead, you can't see the tip of that church, maybe a little bit, but there's a black Gothic spire that you can see through. And we're taking a sharp left turn, so you'll have the same view on the right-hand side in a second. That church that you can see through, they have no divine services. It's a mausoleum for most of Sweden kings. Most of them are buried in the Church of Nobility that is about 700 years old. It's one of the two oldest buildings that both happens to be churches that you'll find in the city. So we, dear guests, are at this very moment on the southern island. But if you look to the right, across the lake, that's the address we're heading to, the King's Island. And you'll see a massive building in bricks with a squarish tower and 3 gilded crowns at the top. That's the City Hall. That's the attraction we're about to visit. Now try to imagine that wintertime, the lake might be frozen for a week or two, and Stockholmers, they walk on the ice from one side to another, and sometimes they make a hole in the ice. They ice fish. These are fishes that we plant every year in the month of May for the Stockholmers to enjoy. And another thing I want you to notice as we drive around today, that Stockholm is very flat. Even if you look at the city's silhouette, most of the buildings that breaks the silhouette are church spires. Because we used to have this fundamental law that said no building is allowed to be taller than the royal palace. God is above the king. That's why you'll see the church spires. But of course, later on we got politicians that are above God. So the City Hall is a good example of changes. Okay? Now, when it comes to water, all these boats you see now on the right side, they are quite unique because there are 25 slots in Stockholm region where boats can stay all year round, and that's here. All the other parts that you'll see boats today, or sailing boats or leisure boats, they will disappear at the end of the summer. But here they can stay all year around. They pay a certain fee. And if you wonder what happens in the winter, because I told you the lake freezes. Back in the days, that was your job. Every evening, every morning, you break the ice so it won't damage the keel. But now they have a tube that is installed under the boat, and it releases bubbles that makes ripples and prevents the ice from freeze. You're like in a bathtub during the coldest month of the year. And another island is being revealed on the right side. It's a tiny island called the Long Island. That was our version of Alcatraz. The state prison wasn't that. Look how easy it was to swim across. You just swim for 30 feet and you're saved. And they turned the prison to a hotel today. So you get a single cell, a double cell, you check out whenever you want to. Very popular. So that's on the right, but on the left side, there's a yellow 2-story building that we're about to pass any second now. The previous building was where Alfred Nobel had his workshop. How many guesses do you need to know what happened to the previous building? So exactly, it exploded at the end of the 19th century. It was right here on the left. Alfred Nobel worked with a sensitive material called nitroglycerin. And in the blast that happened here, he lost his youngest brother, Emil, amongst others. So there were new regulations that you're not allowed to build or work with sensitive materials on the mainland. You had to build a special pontoon in water that was much safer. So, dear guests, what's about to happen shortly? We're about to cross the biggest bridge of them all, called the Western Bridge. And I will let the bridge guide you. I'll be quiet because I think the scenery speaks for itself. But before we get to that spot, if you look to your left, and ahead you'll see behind the trees skyline, there's this yellow building with a black copper roof. That's the prison I told you about. That used to be a prison until 1970, so it's not too long ago that it transformed into a nice hotel and a guest house. And now what you're about to experience when I'm silent, on the right side,